Welcome to DubLife Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. All right, welcome back to DubLife Diaries. Today's guest is Eric L. Goodman, a man who blends horsepower with heart. He's the president of the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America and the VW Thing Registry, leading a community of over 185,000 VW enthusiasts from across the nation. Eric built Das Rad, a VW hot rod that won the National Roadster Show and appeared in magazines across the U.S. and Europe. But Eric's story goes far deeper, from overcoming childhood challenges that he likens to Forrest Gump running down that driveway. Eric forged his purpose, which is helping others, leading with strength, and never giving up. He's been named Orange County's Philanthropist of the Year in 2024, Family Business of the Year in 2023, and has been honored for multiple years back-to-back as a Civic 50 company leader. He's a husband, a father, a new grandfather, and a photographer whose art fuels charity. So while, yes, this episode is about Volkswagens, it's also about mindset, about resilience, and about building communities that last. So let's roll. Eric Goodman, welcome to DubLife Diary.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. That was probably one of the best intros I've heard. I'm impressed.
Hey, man, that's all you, and that's what this podcast is about, is celebrating all you guys of this awesome community that we all know and love. Before I get going real quick, let me just give a quick shout out to a few sponsors. First up, Volksmania magazine. You guys know how I feel. I feel this magazine's the flyest on the face of the planet. Why? Many reasons, mainly the quality, but mostly because of the people at Volksmania. So check these guys out, Volksmania.com. Use DubLife10 at checkout. You'll get 10% off of your first issue if you are a U.S. subscriber. Also, shout out to Salty Dub. From the beach to the bay, Salty Dub is tearing up the VW scene with events and swag. Check those guys out, saltydub.com. Also use DubLife10 for merch at checkout. You'll get 10% off your order. Lastly, my buddy Chris White, Riverbank Customs. Chris is out of Pell City, Alabama. This guy is all about the VW scene. He's one of my favorite people that I've met. I can't wait to hang out with him at Bug Jam next month. Go check him out, Riverbank Customs on YouTube. Back to you, my man. Back to you.
You have that killer voice too, man. It's like a vintage DJ jockey. You got the perfect voice for what you do.
You know, man, people have told me that before, and hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. You know, I've used my voice to my advantage a lot, but never before this has it been to this much of an advantage.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like listening to you. It's cool.
Thank you so much, man. So you've said that your life started with this kind of Forrest Gump moment, which to you was the braces breaking off and you finding your stride. How did that shape the way that you, I guess, approach your challenges in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So you want me to share my background story? Is that all right?
Yes, please.
All right. Yeah. So I dubbed it as the Forrest Gump story, just because if you've seen the movie Forrest Gump, there's that pivotal part in the movie when it starts with Forrest and his mom are at the doctor's office. And the doctor says to his mom, his spine is crooked. And so that's why we're going to have to put him in these little leg braces. They never actually really say what his condition was. The doctor just said his spine was crooked. And then if you remember, it was those big clunky, leg braces and made Forrest different than everyone else. And then as you were just doing the run, the actual, greatest part of the whole movie that I think everybody in history knows is when the kids are picking on Forrest and he's in the driveway and they're on the bikes and they're chasing him and throwing rocks at him. And, he's scared and his best friend Jenny is there and Jenny yells, "Run, Forrest, run." And he takes off running down that driveway. And his braces start cracking and falling off. And then he speeds down the driveway at 100 miles an hour. Everybody, can visualize it. And then the movie is that he goes on to do all these really incredible, amazing things in life. Supposedly he changed history, right?
Right.
And so my life story basically Forrest Gump. I mean, I was born with a very rare spinal condition that made my spine crooked. It's called Schumann's kyphosis. It's not a life-threatening condition, but it does require surgery, and the surgery is to fuse your spine. The problem is they don't
Wow.
want to fuse your spine when you're a little kid because it stunts your growth. So they
Okay.
want to do it as an adult. So I had the exact same leg braces that Forrest Gump wore starting at 3 years old
Wow, dude.
until about 15 years old. And then we were at the doctor's and I was doing one of my checkups on my back. And I knew that I was going to have this surgery at some point in life. I just didn't know when. And the doctor said, we're going to have to transport you to a different hospital. You're going to have emergency surgery because your curvature of the spine is so bad now that it's putting pressure on your left lung and it's collapsing. And that is life threatening.
Whoa.
So we don't want you to lose a lung. So at 15 and a half years old, I went in to have my spine fused. It was like a 9-hour surgery. I was in ICU for 3 weeks. And then I was in a full body cast from the neck down for 9 months. So just like a cast you would have grafted on your arm or your leg, they grafted on my body. And literally from my neck down for 9 months, I was, in a complete body cast at 15 and a half years old. So a 5'6" when I went on the operating table, 5'9" when they pulled me off. So I
Whoa.
grew 3 inches with the spinal fuse. The spinal fuse is they actually take portions of your ribs, they remove those, they chop the bone up in little pieces, and where you have all that triangles in your vertebrae on your back, they insert that bone, they graft it into the spine, and they fuse it. And then eventually that bone grows into one solid bone, which is why you can't really bend or move, but
Right.
that keeps you straight up. So I currently have 2 metal rods in my back, 33 years later. They're called Harrington rods, connected from my shoulders to my hips. Then I have plastic rib inserts, and then I have a fused spine. So it was, you know,
Dude.
yeah, it was quite the surgery. Hey, if anybody ever wants it, there's a guy on the planet that wants to have a scar contest. I had 150, I had 150 stitches. So my scar starts at the top of my neck and goes down to my butt. And so
Dang, man.
I'll win any scar contest on the face of the planet.
That is so crazy. What a crazy, crazy story. But yeah, I think that could be the Forrest Gump moment. Sure.
Yes. Yeah. So I didn't know. I always laugh and joke and tell people I didn't know they were going to make a movie about my life. But then he goes on to do all these really amazing things. And I can't say I've changed the world, but I definitely think my businesses and my involvement in the VW community and my mindset, which I'm sure we'll get into that. I just wrote a new book called "What's Your Mindset," and I was glad you brought up mindset at the beginning of the intro.
That's why I did. That's why I did. Yeah.
Just my whole mindset in life has been, I'm extremely physically disabled, but you wouldn't know by looking at me. Anybody that runs into me on the street would have no idea what I've been through or what's in my body.
Right.
But I've overcome all those challenges to really impact the world in a significant way through servicing developmentally disabled adults and children with my businesses and being out in the community and doing things, and I don't let it hold me back. So I think that's kind of what I want to share, or what I'd like to share with your listeners and other people out there is, everybody in this world has some sort of a disability, either physically or mentally. I believe every person on the planet has something. I mean, it might be a crooked finger, but it's something that bothers you or makes your mindset in the wrong place. And if we can overcome those things and just stay in a positive mindset, we can accomplish so much if we don't let our mind go down that rabbit hole.
Amazing. And I agree with you. I've done a lot of sales training in my life, meaning as a sales training instructor, and there's a lot that plays into mindset in sales. As you very well know, you wrote a book on mindset. Mindset's everything. It's everything. Just like they say attitude's everything. Well, attitude starts with mindset.
Yes.
Can't have a positive attitude without a positive mindset. So
No, that's right.
I get
And
all
I've
that.
experienced firsthand, which is really crazy, and I share about it in the book. But to me, and I think it's the one thing that everybody's missing with the mindset, I never realized till much later in life, and I had been through a lot of other things that I share in the book, and we make it in today, but I had multiple other disabilities, from dyslexia to a heart condition. I mean, you name it, it's been thrown at me, and I've had to take it over the last 50 years. And every time it's like, I keep getting pushed down. What is with this? But what I realized is how much your mind actually controls your body. If you get in the mindset that you're sick or your body doesn't feel good or that you have problems, all of a sudden you manifest that your body's sick. And every time I kept having all these ailments, I kept thinking, if I keep my mind positive And I look at the bright side of this, and I don't let my mind go down the road that this is going to affect my life. Every time I've come out of it, and then I've witnessed miracles in other people's lives where they're, near death, and then their mindset is, I want to live, and they live. And then other people, they say, I'm ready to die, and they die. It's just amazing that your mindset has such a strong control over your whole body. It's crazy to me.
It really is. That's where it starts, though, right? It's like the central system for us is the brain and how we process things. And yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
It really is. But I'm a big fan of mindset, and I even thought about when I was doing research on you, when you had agreed to do this episode with me. I saw your book and I saw some of your speaking engagements and stuff, and I thought to myself, it's probably be a cool book. I'm gonna score it for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. That. So let's talk about Volkswagens. What drew you to Volkswagens in the first place?
That's a crazy story too. I'll make it short. Grew up as a Corvette guy. Whole entire life had been a Corvette guy. My dad had owned probably 50 Corvettes. I didn't know anything other than Corvettes. I was a kid of the 70s. I used to lay down in the back of a Stingray Corvette, and my mom would drive me to work laying in the back hatch area under the window. I just thought it was completely normal. I thought every family had Corvettes. I didn't know that anything existed other than Corvettes. My dad was just massively into them. Whole family was. It was just a family culture. I grew up around the largest Corvette club in the Western United States. We had a couple 200, maybe even like 300 members at one point here in California. My dad was nationally involved, Corvette Association of like 20,000 members. I mean, it was just, was my life. So I bought a Corvette really early in life and had a few. And then in 2000, early 2000, my daughter was 15 years old, and she was on a school bus, and she was going to school, and she saw this orange Volkswagen parked in our grocery store parking lot with a for sale sign. She came home and told my wife, she said, I saw this coolest car Dad would love. She's like, I want that as my first car. So my wife tells me, I said, what is it? She said, I don't know. It's a Volkswagen. I said, okay, let's drive down and look at it. So we drove down, and it was a 1973 orange Volkswagen Thing. Oh. And I said, oh, this is the coolest. This is the coolest thing, right? This is awesome. And so I said, I'm interested. It was a piece of junk. It was completely, it needed to be restored. It was awful. And I said, let's buy it. So we bought it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it's going to be really cheap to fix up. It's an old vintage Volkswagen. Like, we'll be able to fix this car up and get it on the road, and she'll be good to go. I was ignorant because I didn't know anything about Volkswagen things. And then I, started doing my research and learned they were extremely rare in the US. They were only imported here in 73 and 74. Volkswagen Thing parts, the Type 181, are not interchangeable with any other Volkswagen model on the planet. They have their own, door handles. Just every piece, there isn't anything you can really pull off a Bug or a Bus or any other Volkswagen and put on a Thing. They're very specific.
Yeah.
And since they were so limited and rare, they don't reproduce a lot of parts. There's, a couple guys in the country and in the world that make Volkswagen parts, and mostly it's selling used Thing parts. Anyways, long story short, it took us a couple years to restore this thing, and it cost me a fortune. I mean, I spent a lot of money on that I still have it on a Volkswagen Thing. And I told my wife, I said, she's a 16-year-old girl going to high school. Her friends are going to beat this car up. It's going to get smashed in the parking lot. They're not going to take care of it. No power steering, no air conditioning, no anyway. So I offered to trade her a new Volkswagen Beetle, water-cooled Beetle, for the Volkswagen Thing. We do a straight trade, and it would be my car. And she agreed, and she's 31 years old, and she's never driven the Volkswagen Thing. I still have it. 18 years later, the car is still sitting in my garage. I love that thing, and that's what got me started in the Volkswagen culture. Sold the Corvettes, and it was really funny. I remember vividly at that time, my dad came to me, and he said, that's one ugly car. And he's like, and I have no idea why you're into Volkswagens. He's like, they're never, your investments is better in the Corvette world. What are you thinking? And I can tell you now that Rod and the Volkswagen Thing are worth more than any Corvette that he's currently got in his because the Corvettes went down in value and the vintage Volkswagens went way up in value.
Yeah. No, they're kind of cooled off a little bit right now, but that's just a temporary thing.
Yeah, it was. Well, and even the Things. I mean, I paid I paid $6,000 for my thing when I bought it originally.
Wow.
Of course, I put a lot of money in it, restoring it over the years, and then this year I put a Jake Raby air cooled technology motor in it, so I really stepped up to a very high level with the car at this point. So I have more in the thing than I would ever be able to sell it for. I mean, it's now got some money invested in it, but the thing I think just in general is worth more than a '70s Corvette. I mean, it's it's just a different world now. Yeah, and then I built Das Rod, which we can get into later, which was a wild ride in itself too, which was amazing. But I just
Let's
love the culture.
let's talk about that one now. Das.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so in 2005, 2006, there was a big culture going on for the rat rods in general. But then in the Volkswagen community, it was the Volts rods. They had all these Volkswagen converted to hot rods. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I'm a purist. I like my cars vintage and stock. Like the thing is completely stock, but I was just in love with these Volkswagen hot rods. And I had said to a group of friends of mine in our Corvette club, I had said, man, if somebody could take these rat rod Volkswagen Volts rods and they could create like a really custom hot rod, but make it, it's not ratted out. It's like, great paint job, interior, like a show car. I just thought that would be sick. And there wasn't really any out there. There was one in Europe. There was a couple on the scene, but they weren't really here in the US. So I bought a 1970 Volkswagen Bug on Craigslist for $600.
Yes.
I spent 2 weeks in the garage with smoke bombs, getting out thousands of Black Widows and bugs that crawled out of that car just nonstop.
Wow.
It was a complete basket case that had sat outside for I don't know how many years. It was a piece of junk. We took that car and over 5 years, my friends in the Corvette and the Volkswagen Club, we crafted and you can find it online. You could just Google DOSROD, DASROD. What we finished building it was a 1970 Bug. It was stretched 12 inches in the front with a 1930s Ford dropped axle. It had a Porsche 914 motor in it with a 911 fan. It was raked. It had side pipes, so it sounded like 60s muscle car. I mean, I started that thing up and you'd have thought it was a hot rod on the road, and it was a Volkswagen. I mean, it was just a suicide door, suicide hood. It was a Unibody chassis. I mean, it was just everything you could have imagined in any crazy, wild hot rod or Volkswagen. I incorporated into that car. And I debuted it in 2015 at the Roadster Show in California, the Grand National Roadster Show. I entered it in class, and it was the first time that a Volkswagen had ever won a class in the Roadster Show. And now they have a class for Volkswagens in the Roadster Show moving forward, and it traveled the country. It was like you said, it was in, I think I ended up being in like 12 magazines between the US and Germany and Australia. It just really got the attention of everyone because there wasn't really anything like it. It was just so crazy. The Porsche community didn't like it because it was a Volkswagen. The Volkswagen community didn't like it because it had a Porsche motor in it. The hot rod community didn't like it because it was like a hot rod, but it was a Volkswagen. I mean, it drawed everybody to it. It was crazy. Had that car for a couple of years. It wasn't really practical to drive. I mean, it drove well, surprisingly, with that 30s front end on it, but it didn't have a top. It just wasn't your daily driver. So I ended up selling it to a collector in Florida, which is near you. I'll have to look up and see where he was. He has around 200 cars. He
Oh,
lives on an
wow.
island in Florida, was an executive of a large Fortune 500 company, and he has a building there where he houses a couple hundred cars. And I understand it's still on the scene in Florida being shown now. But yeah, if you look it up online, look up Dosterod. It was a labor of love. It was a really unique car. I spent a fortune. I had well into close to $100,000 in that car. So
Amazing.
would have never got my money back out of it. Obviously, I sold it for a quarter of that, but it was just the journey to build that car, to go into the community, to spend time with Volkswagen people, to have them come up to it and say, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Tell me about it. And it just connected me with it opened a world to Volkswagen and how I got to meet all of these people all over the world. And then that led into me, taking over the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America. But wild story.
Super cool. And thank you for sharing. You have, over your career, received some incredible honors. Philanthropist of the Year, National Philanthropy Day honoree, Family Business of the Year. How do these tie into your purpose for helping others?
Yeah, so the businesses, I own three businesses, and one of the businesses, as I alluded to at the beginning of the conversation, MVS Inc. here in California. So we service about 500 homes for developmentally disabled adults and children. I have about 3,500 patients that we service for Medi-Cal and Medicare. We deliver all of their food supplies, medical supplies, personal supplies, basically everything they need to live in a group home, a residential setting. They're mostly 6-bed group homes in California. We've been in business 38 years. We're the only company in California that services this population and has all these group homes.
Wow.
So obviously, with me being born disabled and having my life-saving surgery, I have a special place in my heart for people with disabilities.
Sure.
That led to me being involved with my company that services all of these developmentally disabled adults and children now. And then we have a company foundation where a percentage of all of our profit goes back to the foundation that we donate to nonprofits. So I serve on, oh gosh, I think 7 nonprofit boards right now, Ronald McDonald House and
Yes.
various of others. I've been involved with the Ronald McDonald House. I've been on their board of directors for 23 years. Great charity, big part of my life. So, anyways, it's just I believe my mission in life and my purpose, why God put me here, is to use my what happened to me and to help other people. And so I pour back into my community any way that I can get through the Volkswagen scene, through my businesses, through my nonprofit work, and that's led to those honors. Orange County, California is some place that everyone in the country knows. I don't live in a small town in Alabama. As you mentioned
Right.
to me at the beginning, did I know a certain Volkswagen group? I don't, but I think everybody, because of the television and, internet, knows Orange County. It's a very philanthropic place, but what people see in the media is that it's a very wealthy place with a lot of, stuck up people. And that's not really the case. Surely I've got plenty of those neighbors, but that's not really what it is here. It's a really big community and heart of people that use their means to give back. And I'm so thankful that I have the businesses and that I have the community here that supports me and that I can use that to give back. So yeah, getting honors like Family Business of the Orange County Philanthropist of the Year. It's kind of crazy to think that I'm not a celebrity that's giving back the kind of money they are, but I think it's because people see that I'm pouring into my local community and I'm helping those around me, especially those with disabilities, which is what's closest to my heart.
And you mentioned Ronald McDonald House as far as being a board member. You left a few off. These are in your email signature. Orange County Department of Education, Bright Futures Foundation, Mountain Shadows Foundation, CSUF Center for Leadership, Passkeys Foundation, Junior Achievement Team. Is that just Junior Achievement? And then Team
It's a
Kids?
national,
Yeah.
Junior Achievements is a national program, and then Team Kids. Yeah,
And then Team Kids.
Most of those are foundations for developmentally disabled adults or children, and then some of them are youth organizations like the Department of Ed, Teen Kids. Junior Achievements is a national program that does entrepreneurship and financial literacy in schools. So anything with disabled kids, helping youth, entrepreneurship, I'm all about that.
Now, I've got a quote from you. You often say, the more people we meet, the more people we can help. How does that belief guide your leadership in both business and in the VW community?
You're great, man. You did do your research. I do say that a lot. I say that often. People quote me here locally, but I've never had anybody quote me on a podcast, I don't think, for that before. I say that all the time. And the reason I say that, reason that's my saying is when I first started getting some of these accolades and awards, I was really hesitant to receive them because what I didn't want to happen was, I struggle with imposter syndrome all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm always currently thinking it's not good enough and I'm not deserving of something when it happens to me. But it was, I started receiving these large honors and I thought, this is crazy. I don't want it to be about me. How do we shine the light back on those that we're serving and helping? That's what this is about. So I need to share more with people in the community and others that they need to do what I'm doing to help people. Let's not make it about me as a person. Let's make it about the movement that we're creating and what we're doing. So I think the first couple of honors I turned down and I didn't receive them because I told my team and the marketing company, I'm like, I don't want this to be about Eric Goodman. I want this to be about what my companies and our organizations are doing in the community. And then one of the business leaders here in Orange County and a well-known philanthropist, he came to me and he said, how are you ever going to share your story and get it out? How are you going to help more people if you're not willing to receive these honors, which are going to get you in the spotlight to share more about what you do and connect you to more? And you're going to build and grow these bridges if you continue to receive these accolades. He's like, you've done the work. Take the honor, and it's just going to ultimately get to more people. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. I didn't look at it like that. So then I started receiving the honors and using those platforms to share what we were doing and say, look, you other business leaders and community people in town, you should be doing what I'm doing. We should all get behind this and we should be helping more people. You have ability to do it, but you're not. And why? You need to find your purpose. Find something that you're calling and do it. So then I started receiving the honors and they started pouring in, which is amazing. And then I started quoting, the more people we meet, the more people we can help, meaning connect me to somebody that I don't know. And I guarantee you they're going to connect me to somebody else who's going to need my help. And that's it. It's 1,000% worked.
It's infectious. That statement and the reality of that. It's very true, right? Busy guy. What's it like, I guess, balancing being a CEO, a community leader, a club president, and then you also got your family? What's it like balancing life between all of that?
I probably get asked 2 or 3 times a day, every single day, including yesterday, but multiple times at a lunch meeting and in an event last night. Somebody will come up to me and say, I don't know how you do it all. I cannot figure out how you do everything you do. How is it physically possible? You must never sleep. You're on 24/7, which is true. I don't sleep much. I'm very type A. Obviously, I'm a serial entrepreneur. It's just in my blood. But, the 3 businesses, I have teams that are incredible that lead them. So I don't, I go into the office one day a week. I don't have to be there every single day because I have the right people in the right seats, which took me
Ooh,
a long time
traction.
it took me a long time to learn that, man, for
Ooh.
way too many years, 20 plus years. I sat there every single day and signed checks and did meetings and did phone calls and I did all the CEO stuff. And then it dawned on me like, well, one, I suck at it. I'm not a good CEO, but I admit that because I'm too, I'm too ADHD and I can't focus. And number two is it's a complete waste of my talent. Like I'm sitting behind this desk managing paperwork. It's just so when it dawned on me that that was the wrong place for me to be, and I started hiring the right people to
Mm,
run the companies and get them
love it.
into place, and they got me out in the community and had me being the visionary to share what we're doing and to grow and to come up with ideas and to do things, then that gives me like, 5 days a week, whatever it is that I can just pour into the community
Love it.
and then the nonprofit events, I don't play golf. I do play with cars, but I don't have much hobbies outside of the cars. And so when other people are sitting on the couch watching TV or, addicted to video games, whatever they're doing, I'm at a community function supporting a nonprofit, pouring into the community. They're pouring back into me. It's filling my soul. And I see the nonprofit work as like my downtime. It's my reset. It's
Mm,
my time to be me. And then the next morning, I'm recharged to then head off to make connections in the community and build the businesses and help people. And then another community event comes back up, and it's just that circle. For me, it's the way I fill my cup. I know it's not going to work for everybody. Everybody can't go at the pace that I can, but it works for me. So
no, that's awesome. And I kind of relate to the no sleep, the type A. Do you know the disc profile at all?
no, I don't think I know that one.
Okay.
Let's explain it. I may have heard it.
Well, DISC, driver, influencer, stable, compliant nature, the 4 different personality types of people. Type A is usually a D style
Okay,
person, usually an entrepreneur, usually the one that can't sleep, usually the one in control, you know.
that's
But
me.
yeah, that right. And that's me too. So like I was just saying, I related to a little bit of what you were saying. Share with us, though, how your values, which is caring, dependable, and honest, show up in the way that you run your organizations.
Man, you're killing it today. This is going to be the best podcast. I have a podcast today at 2 o'clock. I've done 6 this week, and today's what, Tuesday. You're killing it with the questions, man. You are nailing it. I'm loving this. And we didn't do any of this. Just so you all know that's listening, we did not rehearse any of this in the background. This is all just happening as you were all listening to it, and he's doing all this. You're a talented guy. Yes, caring, dependable, honest. I'll give you a short story about that because I know my
Okay,
stories can get long, and I'm a talker.
bring it on, brother.
So for years and years and years and years and years, we had a mission statement at my company. It was on the wall. It hung over the door. Every single employee that I had walked in and out of that building. They all saw it. It was plastered on everything we had, our website, everything. I could not tell you what that mission statement was. I couldn't repeat it to you if my life depended on it, nor could anybody on my team. Mission statements are too long, they're too wordy. I just don't like mission statements. I think they're complete waste of time. And so I was like, why are we doing this? Why do we have this mission statement? We're living by this thing that I can't even repeat. Nobody on my team could. And so then I said, okay, we did some strategic planning for the business with a consultant. They said, how about a vision statement? Yeah, okay, a vision statement is a shorter message than a mission statement, but it's still a wordy thing that you have to memorize that does anybody actually live by? It sounds good for corporate America and you can plaster it on your wall. It's nice. And then I met this business that this father and son team business, and they just had core values, 3 words. And they live by those 3 words of these core values. And I was like, oh, that's cool. 3 words. I can remember 3 words. My team can remember 3 words. And if we can actually live by and follow those 3 words, okay, that's something I can do. But I can't live behind my mission statement. It's too long. It's just too much. So the way we came up with the core values was we sent a questionnaire notice out to all of my customers, all of my vendors. I sent it to all of my personal friends and family. And I said, give me 3 words that come to your mind that you think of when you think of Eric Goodman and MVS Inc. What words do you equate with us? And so I got back thousands of words. And all I did was I filtered down the 3 most repeated words: caring, dependable, and honest. So I'm like, okay, if that's how the community and my customers and my vendors and everyone that I associate myself with sees myself and my business as being caring, clearly we care for developmentally disabled adults and children. Dependable, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So does my company and my customers and vendors and my friends and family know that. And honest, they said I was an honest person and our business was honest. I'm like, I'll take it. So I implemented those core values in 2021, 2022, something like that in my life and my business. And what we did was we kind of told everyone, look, if you don't fit those 3 values, if you're not caring, dependable, or honest, I don't want you as a customer. I don't want you as a vendor. I don't need you as a friend in my life. I think it's best that we just go our separate ways because if I'm supposed to appeal those values and I'm going to live by those, then I expect everybody around me to do the same. And if they don't, if you bring up a red flag for me and I think you're a dishonest person, then immediately now I've just shifted my values to accept yours. And that's not something I'm okay with. So I'm like, let's live it. So we started living it. I started posting it every single day on my LinkedIn. It's still to this day, 4 or 5 years later, I post it every single day. It's plastered all over my walls. I repeat it on everything. It's on our literature. It's on my book. It's on my website. It's on my personal brand. Just, I think everybody in my life knows now that my values are caring, dependable, and honest. And that's what I live. I lead by example. I'm Christian, so I have faith. And so I lead by example. And a lot of time people will come up to me and they'll say, I didn't really know till I met you. And then I met you. And now that I'm around you, I can honestly say, yep, you're the guy, you follow those values and you lead by example. And so that's what keeps me doing this every day, where I don't compromise those values, because as soon as I do, then I'm compromising everything we built and my teams and everybody around me. And it just keeps me grounded, man. And I'm glad I have 3 words. And anybody out there that has a mission statement or vision statement, throw them in the trash. Get rid of them tomorrow. They're horrible.
I like how
don't
you
do it.
came up with this too, is because as a business consultant in the trades for like the last 10 years, one of the very first things that we used to do when we'd go out on site to a, electrical contractor or an HVAC contractor, plumbing contractor, they may be at the $1 to, $2 million mark and trying to have that breakthrough where their business grows. We would say, wait, you don't have a mission, you don't have a vision, you don't have core values. But let me go back to this. The way that you came up with yours supersedes, or should I say overcomes, one of the hardest things that we usually have in business, which is buy-in from the employees when we change our core values, right?
Right.
You made the employees come up with the words, so it's impossible to not buy in.
Right.
So yeah, man, that was
And if that many thousands of people, if that's how they saw us. Now,
yeah.
Here's the flip side to that. Now, It
Awesome.
didn't happen to me, but let's just say, had dishonest come back as one of the words, right?
We could have fixed it.
We would have had to restructure some things,
Right.
obviously.
To fix it, sure.
So affirmed for me that we have been doing the right thing and that we are seen like that. I mean, we've been in business 32, 33 years when that happened, right? And so I had been in business for 30 plus years. So obviously we're doing something right. It reaffirmed that, but just moving forward, it reiterates to everybody that's associated with me, live those values. And if you don't, then be prepared to be booted off the island because if I have a customer or vendor who I don't believe, if I don't believe their values are the same as mine, why would I want to align myself with them? Then that just means you and the community are going to see that company and see that they're dishonest and you're going to go, and Eric's okay with that? Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't expect that, right? It's going to
It's
lead into it's a mess. Yeah.
it's a powerful way to live, and usually it's a way that a lot of folks want to live, but they're almost afraid to face, to really push that hard. But like you, if they just would, everything's all right.
That's right.
Right?
That's
You just
right.
gotta take that leap. You gotta jump. Let me ask you a question about Volkswagens. Why do you think that Volkswagens bond people like family?
Oh, I know the answer for that for sure. It is an iconic cult following. There is not another automobile on the face of the planet that exists in this world that is more iconic or is loved more than a Volkswagen. Probably a Beetle, but I'll give it any Volkswagen. I have never met a single person in my life to this day, and nor do I think I will till I die, that I have not said, do you know somebody that has or have you owned a Volkswagen? And then they start off with this story. Bam! My uncle, my aunt, my
That's
cousin,
right.
when I was a kid growing up, my first car when I was in college. I mean, it's just like I have you ever encountered anybody in your life and you said, do you have owned or do you know somebody has a Volkswagen? And they go, nope, never had. No, I don't know. It
You're like,
doesn't
yeah, what rock did you grow up under? No,
doesn't exist. It's
that's
an
why I started
iconic
this podcast.
following.
It's for that reason, right there, right? Everybody's got a story, and usually the people that are involved in this scene have stories that are worthy of celebrating and telling
Yes.
them. Look at you, for example, and your accolades. At the end of the day, I'm just a fan of right. We're all just a fan of Volkswagens. So yeah, that's
And it's a car that you can. I think the biggest thing is and the reason it's so family orientated and what it did for my personal family and my life with my kids and why my Volkswagen thing will be in my garage until I die, and then I hope it's in the will to my daughter so she'll own it someday. I'm hoping that she'll keep it forever. Is the Corvette was not a family car. The Corvette was for my wife and I. And if the kids came, it meant a second car. And then we weren't together as a family. And when we went to things, it wasn't a family atmosphere. A Ferrari is not a family car. A Porsche is not a family. I mean, there's just no. You go to a Volkswagen scene, and the four of us pile in our Volkswagen thing, and we cruise down to a Volkswagen scene, and we get out to a show, and it's all families. Your whole family is there. Your dog is there. your your relatives have come to visit. Six people pile in the bus, and I was at a car show this weekend, and there's guys here from Europe, and they're coming up to us, and they're talking like, how did you get here? Oh, we flew over, and then we rented a bus, and we're here at the show. Like it's family, right? And that you don't have that in other car models, I don't think, to this level ever. And so that's why I love the Volts. I ditched the Corvettes, went full in on the Volkswagens because I liked them as a vehicle, but I more liked that I could include my family and my two kids and my wife and the dog. We grew up together from when, we got the thing till now. That is just a part of our life. We still to this week, my wife and I and the kids, my son, I'll call him and say, hey, I'm going to go for a cruise and a thing. Do you want to come over? I'll be right there. He drives over. We all slam into the thing. We go cruise the Pacific Coast Highway.
oh
We're gone
man,
for like an hour. We get some fresh air. Beautiful. Maybe grab a bite to eat. We come home. We do that probably twice a week, right?
yes.
You do not do that in a Subaru.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So
It,
you've got 185,000 plus members in the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America. You've probably seen and heard a lot of stories. What are maybe some one, two that really stand out as being maybe some of the most impactful or powerful stories that you've witnessed, kind of being in the seat you're in?
Well, then maybe we can talk about the club a little. So we've got like 180,000 members in our Facebook group page. That's kind of where we accumulate that number. And
Okay.
then the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America is a national organization, which then has chapter clubs across the country. There's the magazine
Yeah, I'm holding the
that
magazine up for you listeners that can't see because this is a podcast.
So the way it's structured is we're the national organization. We're the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America. And then there's a bunch of chapter clubs that are actually the clubs with the members underneath us
Okay.
that then funnel down to the members. So you can either be a member of the national club and go straight to Vintage Volkswagen Club of America and join, or you can be a member of a chapter club and
Yeah.
join. Most people do the chapter club because the chapter club is where you're going to get your local events. So like here in California, we've
Oh,
got 5 large chapters. Our Bay Area chapter does 2 huge shows, one in Kelly Park and one up in Solvang. And then our Central Coast chapter does a huge show, which is the Meet in the Middle. Our Southern California chapter does a big show that's at Wolfburg's West. And so all the different chapters across the country, they host their own shows. They have their own members. They do their own events. The national club, Vintage Volkswagen Club America, we don't really have any national events or national shows. You just become a member of the organization to support the hobby and the love for Volkswagen and to show that you're part of something bigger. But then if you really want to get actively involved, you need to join a chapter club, which is where all the activity happens. Because like I'm in California, I can't facilitate an event in Florida near you. But the club in Florida can facilitate an event near you and you can be involved and do everything and then just be part of the greater organization.
I think I
So
need to
it's
connect with the person in Florida. And I hate to sound ignorant, but that's why we're talking about it. So to create some
and
awareness.
so people, yes, can
Yeah.
understand.
I think
And
I've joined, but I think I joined the national.
yes,
I didn't even know there was one in Florida. And I'm sorry
yeah,
to be ignorant.
no, and if you go on the website, the vvwca.com, anybody can go there, click on the chapters and find a local chapter club. Or if
Awesome.
you have a local car club and you want to be connected with the larger Volkswagen community at large, you could join our club as a chapter and then get all the support that goes with it and then just keep your club as part of us. Some of the clubs actually are Vintage Volkswagen Club of America, whatever area, Texas, California, whatever. And then some of them are different names where it's like we have our Bay Area chapter, we have our Central Coast chapter, we have our Southern California chapter. And then some of them are just called like, DubLife, but they are a chapter of Vintage Volkswagen Club of America. So they keep their own name.
Got it.
Uh, Stories. So you asked about stories. So Vintage Volkswagen Club of America started in 1996. It's currently the largest vintage Volkswagen association in the country, probably world. It has, I think, its own iconic cult following. The logo that's behind you on the page is probably something that everybody, I think, that's in the Volkswagen scene in the world recognizes. I have seen it on everything I can think of. Some things non-approved, other things approved. Tons of our clubs use it. It's amazing. In Germany, there's a Volkswagen association that has a logo that's similar. It's amazing that this circle with a bug in it has been used in so many different forms across the world where they associate this symbol with the vintage Volkswagen world. So we're honored that the logo is what it is, and that's why it stayed the same for so long. Amazing story for me was when I got involved with the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America. So I had the Volkswagen Thing, and I was a member of the local Volkswagen Club, not Thing related. And Volkswagen Things are normally one of those things that if you go to a show or go to a club, there's a couple of them, and then there's hundreds of buses and bugs and other things. And so I was like, where are the Volkswagen Things at? Well, we don't, we have 2 in our club. There just isn't that many. So then I found online that there was the VW Thing Registry, which was a national association of Volkswagen Things. And then I found out there was one in Europe also, and there was one in Mexico. So there was 3 because that's where the Volkswagen Thing originally sold in Germany. Then for the U.S. imports in other countries, it was built in Mexico and then imported to the U.S. So the gentleman, Bob, who founded and started the VW Thing Registry had passed away, I think in the 90s, early 2000s. And so the club had kind of been dormant for many, many years. So I started contacting people on the internet and saying, hey, do you know so-and-so? Do you know so? Well, long story short, I found a bunch of people who had been involved. I found his son. I got my hands on a bunch of the old literature and I restarted the VW Thing Registry back up again after it had been dormant for many years.
Cool.
And on our website, we have a database where we track all of the Thing VIN numbers in the world, and we keep track of their location. So I was
Cool.
doing that group, and then Mike, who was the president of Vintage Volkswagen Club of America, saw what I was doing with the VW Thing Registry and how it was growing and building and how I kind of revived it. And he contacted me and said, "Hey, we want to do the same sort of thing with the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America. Would you get involved? Can you help us, like, try to take it to the next level?" And I joined the organization as the vice president. And then it was only like 2 years, Mike asked me to take over as president. And I took over as president in 2018. And then Mike passed in 2025. And I had been president ever since. And the amazing story that I found sorry, I finally get into the story. The amazing story that I found that you're asking about was 2 or 3 times in its 50-year history, the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America was going to go under. It was going to close, defunk, because the president, it's an all volunteer organization, and the president of the club had either got tired of being president and couldn't find somebody to pass it to, or they passed it to somebody and they didn't want to keep it going. And it was running out of funding and just somebody to lead it. So when I took it over from Mike, he had been investing his own personal funds to keep the club going and printing that magazine, which you get, which is very expensive to do. We're one of the few clubs that prints an actual hard, magazine. It's costly. Most
Yeah.
everybody's gone digital now. I
Yeah.
tried to go digital, and I got revolted from the VW scene. I was going to get thrown off the ship because people want that. Some guys just they collect them. There's guys that have our magazine since the beginning. It's the Vintage Voice. They collect them and they like to get that magazine in their hand. So when I took it over from Mike, I'm like, wow, this Vintage Volkswagen Club of America, it's iconic. It's huge. It's so well known. Like, this thing could just grow to this massive ends. And I started pouring my life into it. And what I found was everybody on the planet thinks they're a member of the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America because they order or buy our sticker, they stick it on their car, they see it as a community, not as a club,
Ah,
and as a culture. And you'll run into people and say, "Are you a member of the Vintage?" "Oh yeah, I've been member since 1970. But
you
I do
gotta
everything."
you gotta
Are
pay.
you paying? No. Are you involved in the organization at all? No. And then I was like, wow, all of these people, it's almost like the bug itself. They see the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America as a culture, as a lifestyle,
Wow.
as a brand
Wow.
that they love. But how do you support that monetarily? How do you keep an organization of this size running with no funds? It was
Right.
just, so I struggled. I really struggled. So the first few years, I dumped my own money into it. And then we were providing insurance to all of our chapters, and we were supporting events, and we were doing all kinds of stuff. So a year or so ago, I had to quit doing all of that, and the chapters have to stand on their own leg and support themselves. We're just here as a really as the main focus to bring everybody in, and then they find their chapter. So it's been really hard to grow and expand this organization beyond a culture, because you can't how do you get somebody to join something when they think they've been a member of it for 30 years?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that kept
Interesting.
happening everywhere I would go, every VW meet, every club. You just told me on here. I joined, but I didn't know there was chapter clubs, and I didn't know all. It's an amazing organization. But my story is, it's been saved probably 4 times by different presidents. I'm currently saving it. When I decide not to, I don't know who's going to take it over or do it. Somebody younger than me will have to step in and do it. But I think it's an amazing organization with an amazing brand. But its story is so hard to monetize because so many people just think that it exists as this thing out in the universe that they're a part of, which is
So,
crazy.
AKA, make your donation. Support the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America. I do it as soon as I get that email from Jay, telling me that my fees are due, whatever. I click next right away
Thank
because
you.
I like to support you guys. So,
Thank
you touched on events. I want to touch on events just for a second because I know they've changed a lot over time.
Yeah,
Like,
COVID.
Yeah, well, even there, but I'm talking even like back into the mid 90s, the first few times I went to Bug Jam versus, now. How do you see, I guess, the role of these events changing from the way they used to be in the 90s, 80s, 90s in California to now and how they are?
Yeah, the big thing, especially in California for us, and we have some of the biggest shows. The Prado show here in Southern California is the largest Volkswagen show in the country, maybe the world. We get 3,000 Volkswagens at that show at its height. Having them get together, meet for a weekend event and having 1,000 plus 12, 15 cars is just normal. It's Southern California is obviously 40 million people. There's probably more Volkswagens in California than there is anywhere in the country. We're a dry state. We have rain today for the first time in, okay, what is this? This is this is October 14th, and I can't tell you this year when we had rain. So we're having rain today, and everybody's freaking out. We're all going to be stuck in our homes, and we can't go outside because it's raining. And they've been saying it's the flood of the year on TV for the last week because we're getting 12 hours of rain and everybody's freaking out. We have beautiful, the weather here is conducive to year-round Volkswagen cruising. We don't winterize or store our cars, and the culture is well and alive here, and it's huge. But the problem is, the venues are expensive. They want liability insurance, which we were paying. Vintage Volkswagen Club America up to last year was paying almost $10,000 a year, $10,000 a year for
Dang.
our liability coverage
Dang.
because it's very expensive, because we're operating cars, because you can get in an accident and kill someone, because somebody could get hurt at a venue and then you're going to get sued because the venue wants to make sure you got millions of dollars worth of coverage. So there's nothing. So I think the event scene is really struggling. California, Florida, nationally, Texas, parts of the country, venues are expensive to secure. They
Yeah.
want liability insurance. They want you to not do certain things. You can't, cruise up and have your car like you used to because there's liability there. It's just the culture has changed, and that's affected the VW scene. That's affected the events because now you have to have a big club with a lot of money or big sponsors to put on large events to even be able to secure the space. So our show
Oh,
here
man.
in California, from what I've been told, and I don't quote me, but the biggest show here in California, our big show, I've been told by that group that just to rent the facility, get the insurance, and secure everything they need to produce that show cost them $60,000
I believe it.
for a weekend.
And I'll talk on this for a second because it's important. It's important for the community to hear this, and you touched on it, so I'm definitely going to explore the thought. So we put together a few shows down here in Central Florida. All right, we got our teeth cut on them in 2024, and we're going to continue to put them together. But here's my point: we get a show together that maybe allows 90 cars, in this space on the beach. It's a show that's been going for many years. The guy that put it together has struggled for the last 2 years to put it together. So we're going to put it together. Me and my partner, Alan, Salty Dub. And we call the city because you have to go through the city. Well, they got to close the roads. Well, then they need fire and EMS, and then you need your permit. And then it's like, so by the time you're done with everything, you only have a spot for 90 cars. It's thousands of dollars just to get this space. And the community saying, oh man, why don't you guys put this together and do this show again? So you do it. And then where is everybody at? Right? It's like,
Exactly.
well, you got to charge $60. No. We're not charging anything. We're just trying to recover what we're being charged from the city to host this event for you guys. So
That's right.
I feel that. And then on the $60,000 figure, I can attest to that by saying this. Last year, we did our very first V-Dubs on the pier, downtown St. Pete, at the pier property, which was a beautiful event. The pictures, the everything. It was the first year event, so it was inaugural. We had about 150 cars, 147, I believe. So about 150 cars. Dude, it was $18,000 to secure that space and insurance, right? And then,
Isn't that crazy?
yeah, to break it up by those cars and try to get, without sponsors, etc. Holy smoke, man! It's hard to put on these events.
It is.
So
And the people
I
have no
vibe with
idea
that.
they have no idea what goes into that.
They
This
really
big
don't.
event in California, so they rent out an entire camping park. So, like 30 grand of it is the park. Because I mean,
Sure.
obviously the park could rent those spaces for a couple $100 a night, and they're
Right.
coming up 3,000 spaces for the weekend. And then, like you
Whoa.
said, they got to have insurance. They've got to have fire department there. They've got to have EMS. They've got to have the liability insurance. They've got to have, I mean, secure. They require them to have security on site, and it just adds up. And so they do have big sponsors for that. But how many Volkswagen parts companies or lifestyle companies in the country can support events all over the US and spend 50 years? They can't. They
I
just
can't.
like they have a couple big companies here in California that pour into this one big show, and then everybody else that has a Volkswagen club goes to that owner of that, you know, VW business and says, "Will you support mine?" And he's like, "I can't. I support that one." And that's it. That's my budget. Like, I'm done. I can't do 100 shows. Yeah,
Such
so
a good point.
the scene changed because of the world and because of that stuff. And COVID shook a lot of that. I think just what we found popular here in California is just you're doing a Volkswagen cruise is more cost effective because you could just post up, we're doing a cruise, everybody meet here in this parking lot. We're going to go for the day and then, you know, hit up this whatever restaurant. That's really popular. A Volkswagen show in a park. They're doing a lot more in like state parks here because that's popular, or private parks. But the big shows, we don't have the bug in, you know, the big stuff we had, like the huge VW shows we're here in California. And some of the guys, the last few years, they've come to an end. You may have saw it here, but they were doing the drags, the VW drags. And we had a couple of racetracks here in California, the California Speedway in LA and then Irwindale. Well, that got tore down this year. And now there's no drags because there's no place to do it. There's no auto venues, tracks that'll have us. They don't exist. There's one left, and
I don't
it's
know why they
NASCAR.
do that. All they're
Yeah.
doing really is asking these kids to drag race on the street.
Well, you know what, they at Irwindale, which is the biggest one out here in California that we were using to, you know what that's going to be? It's going to be a beautiful home project. It's now going to be where that racetrack was, which was super popular and was well attended. It wasn't that it didn't do it. It was because the owner of the land wouldn't release the space to the guy that had the track because he could get more money selling it for real estate
Probably a lot more. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
California. Yeah, it's in LA.
At the end of the day, unfortunately, a lot of things boil down to money.
Yeah.
You know,
So
yeah.
that's the big change, I think, in the VW scene across the country. I think and it's sad that this is the world we live in. And I tell our clubs and chapters that's all the time. And every time they're like, "Eric, I never thought of that. That's crazy. I never thought of that." It's sad that this is the world we live in. But here's the real problem. That the root of all this is if you have a Volkswagen club and you start it up and you either 501c3 it or you don't do anything, but you just start a club and you all put your name on it and you're on social media and the website stuff, and one of your club members gets in an accident and they kill somebody, that family of that, which this has happened in one of our clubs, I have firsthand experience of this happen in our club. That family sues that Volkswagen club. They're going to go after all those club members and those officers of that club and say, "Oh, wait a minute. I see, you know, DubLife. I
Wow.
see you got a pot. I see you do this. I see you do that. You got money," which you don't, but that's okay. We think you have money. You have a club, right? There's a bunch of members. You're all going to pay for this family member's death. And then that's when a club says, "Holy shit, I never thought of that." So I said, "Well, that's
Right.
why you have to have liability insurance." "Well, we don't have liability insurance." "Well, then you shouldn't be operating a club." If you don't have liability insurance or liability insurance on your business, you shouldn't be operating. And it's sad that that's the world we live in. But I think too many guys just get together and do a club. So we're just going to go out fun. We're going to do great, blah, blah. And then one of their club members drinks alcohol, drives their car home, gets in an accident, God forbid, kills somebody. And then next thing you know, those
Everybody's
club
liable.
members are going, well, those club members are going, "Wait a minute, I don't have anything to do with that. I'm just a club. I'm just a president of the club." No, you're responsible for that
Wow.
member that you just, but right. They don't think of that. And that's
Yeah.
sad that this is the world we live in. But
Yeah.
don't just go out and start a little car club and think you're just going to have fun with your friends on the weekend unless you're willing to take the responsibility for what comes with that. And I think that a
Ooh.
lot of clubs don't do that.
No, that's great. That's great. For us, you know, we're not even allowed to tickle the idea of an event unless we are insured out to the nines. I mean, and
Right.
we're messing with the one V-dubs over the Skyway last year that we did. Had a little over 400 cars. We rented lot 5 at Tropicana Field. And when we wrote the check to them for the day to rent that lot, it was made out to the Tampa Bay Rays baseball.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
And you know for events, and it sounds like you're doing the right way. We know for events, but I'm saying even if you just have a car
No, I
club
know. Yeah, that's
and
what
you're
I'm
just
saying though, is it
driving your
goes so
members,
deep.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're just driving your members around on the weekends for fun. You should have liability insurance coverage for that club for those members because if something happens and you're not even in an event, you're just out cruising your cars, somebody's going to sue you.
Yeah,
That's the
smart.
crazy part.
Cover your you know what.
Yes, exactly.
Cover your butts.
Yep.
Let me ask you your opinion on the youth. How do you see the younger generations stepping into the VW culture now?
I personally think, and I know it's different opinions and different things a lot. I personally think the VW is still the only car that a younger person can get into and still afford it and make it their own. I mean, look at Nissan. Look at Nissan, GTs selling for 100 grand and some of the, a Supra, $100,000 Toyota Supra. I mean, it's there isn't a lot of cars left on the market that a young person can get into and modify or make their own. I mean, they can buy a Honda Civic, but how trick are you going to go on a Honda Civic? And I'm not downing anybody that's got a Honda Civic. I'm up for anybody that wants to modify a car, but you could still buy a cheap Volkswagen of certain models and you can fix it up and you can go out with your friends and you can do stuff. I still think it's the only affordable car left in the hobby. And I think it's the only reason Volkswagen is still surviving because the Corvettes, my dad's 60s Corvettes, somebody younger than my generation doesn't want that car. So as those baby boomers are dying off, the values are plummeting because there's more. I know for a fact right now, there is more vintage Corvettes for sale on the market than there is buyers. You can just go online and look it up
Wow.
because those guys don't want those cars and nor could they afford it. Like you're not going to buy a 50s or 60s nice muscle car Corvette for, less than 75 to 100 grand.
Right.
And that's not a starter car for a kid, but you could still buy a Volkswagen Bug for $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, not something great, $5,000, a
Yeah.
Super Beetle or
But
something.
still,
And you can
perspective.
fix it up and drive it. And so I think that's why the Volkswagen hobby scene and culture and the youth is still popular and it's still a family event where all the other cars, even some of the cool cars today, they're getting rid of the Challenger, the Charger, the what else have they just? I mean, they get rid of everything that's cool. Like is the Mustang the only thing left that we have that's cool? I mean, I don't. There's just not a lot of cars left out there
Right.
that you could buy new that's cool.
Well, they're all kind of moving into, EVs. I don't know what your opinion is there, but you got the ID Buzz and everything with even with Volkswagens. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that the electrical side, do you think it clashes with the vintage community or do you think it
Well, I mean, we were
pairs?
talking about this yesterday at one of the big Volkswagen. We had a bus show, the OCTA show here in California. Must have been, I don't know how many hundreds of buses was there this weekend, but I'm gonna guess there was, few hundred buses there at this big show that's every year. And there was one ID Buzz and probably 300 vintage Volkswagens. And the only reason is because I think if they would have made that car gas, it would have sold, we were talking about this weekend, it would have sold hundreds of thousands of them because it's electric and the price point is so high. It's only to a certain demographic of people that can buy that thing.
True.
And so if they did away with the Bug, the water cooled Bug. Supposedly they're going to come back out with it. If that was affordable, non-electric, that'd be great. If the bus was not electric, that'd be great. I'm not opposed to electric vehicles. I just think it's such a limited market. I mean, even in California, you said you traveled here and you've been here. So we have 40 million. We have 40 million people in California. We're the I think fourth largest economy in the world, and we're bigger. Our state is bigger than every state in the United States combined. We're still bigger. We're still bigger than. So California is so massively huge. We were supposed to have an EV mandate by what 32, I think, or whatever. That just got repealed. We'll see what happens with the new administration. But our governor wanted us to be a fully electric state. How in the world would you electrify 40 million people's cars? Like it's just even where I live. I'm in Newport Beach in Southern California. I live in a very old community in a very old neighborhood. that we don't even allow electric vehicles to be charged in our community. It's in our CC&Rs and our homeowners association that we can't have electric cars.
Wow.
So how do you mandate an electric car when my community can't even charge the cars? So I just don't understand. It's a very niche market. It's a small group. And in some places, in especially California, we couldn't. I think the whole country the electrical grid would be shut down if we all went electric. I just don't know how we couldn't handle it.
Well,
It can't be done.
you hear about those big brownouts and blackouts, and the blackouts they usually explain the blackouts by being old technology for the grid. Well, if the grid's got old technology, you're not going to handle 40 million cars charging.
Well, and I don't know, you don't live in California, so you may not know this, but people in California know this, and you may be surprised. But so we get here in California certain things where the Southern California Edison will shut down our air conditioning during peak times of season when we are overloaded or too hot. Our air conditionings get shut off, and there's nothing we can do about it. Wow. And they'll notify us, hey, we're at peak season during these hours, during these days. So we lose our air conditioning. They turn it off. Well, what's happened the last few years is they've now been putting out notices that we can't charge our electric cars on certain days during certain peak hours because it overloads the system. But if you only own an electric car and you can't charge it from Friday till Sunday,
what are you supposed to do
during peak? What do you do? I have no, of course everybody ignores it. Nobody now the electrician, our AC, they actually physically put a little box on our electrical panels and they shut it down remotely. So we have no control over it. So it's just turned off. But you're sitting inside, you have no air conditioning, and now you can't even go drive your car. That's just crazy, right?
It is.
So how would that work?
Crystal ball.
Yeah. And the people that own them electric cars, when we get our EV notice here and saying you can't drive your EV, those people just go, what? California mandated they want us to go all electric, but then they notify us that we can't charge our car during peak hours?
It's crazy.
It's the stupidest thing ever.
It's crazy to see what's happening over time with some of the changes that they're trying to make. We'll see how it all pans out. Speaking of that, though, of what will be, what trends do you think over the next 5 years will maybe start to define the VW community? Do you see anything coming?
Well, I'm worried. I'm worried about the Volkswagen and the hobby in general surviving for a long period of time, only just because with the costs that we discussed of various expenses of owning and operating, Volkswagen parts companies are becoming less and less. We're reliant on Chinese parts, and I'm not going to mention a Volkswagen parts reseller by name, but I'm just going to say, I saw somebody posted on our page a week or so that they got dual carbs. They put them on their car and they lasted 3 weeks and they're shot, and they go back and the parts company's saying, well, they failed because it was Chinese and it's junk and sorry, you're out. So their brand new motor was on the road 3 weeks and the carbs already are crap. Like, wow. So how do we sustain that? How do we continue to have a thriving community of these vintage cars when our parts resellers are slowly getting down to where there's just a handful of them in the country, and the parts that we're getting are crap and nothing's being made here, and you just have like I just told you I had my new motor built by Jake Raby at Raby Air-Cooled Technologies, and anybody in the VW scene that knows Jake or in the Porsche scene that knows Jake knows he's probably the top air-cooled engine builder in the country, maybe the world, and he will only use German or parts that him or L&M, his partner that is in the business with him, have manufactured. And the reason is because he says he buys parts that are imported and he builds a motor and he can't warranty it because it doesn't last, because it falls apart, because it's junk. So that's why they have to build their own parts or use vintage NOS parts or get parts from Germany, because quality parts don't exist in the marketplace anymore. So how do you build, you used to build a VW Bug motor for a couple $1,000. Now, even with Chinese imported parts, it's going to cost you, let's say a cheap entry-level motor is going to cost you $5. A good one's probably going to cost you $8.
Uh-huh.
And then you drive it on the road for 3 weeks and it doesn't run. It's just like,
yeah,
how, right? How you can't,
well,
the distributor doesn't go, the Webbers don't, so I don't.
Yeah, and if that is the youth that's experiencing that, how long can they experience that before they say, man, I'm selling this thing?
Yeah.
Right? And getting out of it. So I can appreciate that.
And then I spent a fortune. I could have bought 2 Volkswagen things for what I spent on my motor with Jake. I spent a fortune on my motor. And any of the guys that know or know me are like, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why would you spend that kind of money on a motor? Why does Jake have a 4-year waiting list? I wonder why. Why did it take me? There's going to be a story coming out in our Volkswagen Club America magazine after the first year. Like, why did I have to wait 4 years to get a motor in my car? Because there's so few guys in the country who are building motors like Jake's building and to the quality that he's building them. And what it cost me, your average guy isn't going to spend, but that's the only way you can get a quality motor in your car.
We need to get Jake on the podcast.
And you do. I can hook you up with Jake. Do you know Jake? You must know of him or no?
I know of him. I don't know.
Google him. You think you spend some research on me, you'll spend the rest of your time. Man, that guy is, and if you want somebody to go off and start telling you technical data on how stuff is made.
That'd be a cool. So I'm not the best mechanic out there, nor do I claim to be, but that would be a fun episode.
I'll email you with him and hook you up. He said, cool, and he doesn't do a lot of this, so it'll take some convincing. But I think if we explained to him we were doing it for the Vintage Volkswagen Club, he's our chief technical director for the club.
Oh yeah.
All of our technical stuff. Yeah. I think he would do it. But just finding guys like him, those guys are all either retiring or dying. And there just isn't a lot of guys, all the Volkswagen shops, the repair shops in my area, they're all gone. They're all gone. I have to drive, far away to get to it. And I'm in Southern California and everybody's like, there should be 1 million shops. They're all gone. They can't.
My guy too. Yep. My guy.
Are in business here. They're older. They're out. So then I ship my thing in a transport truck to Georgia, had Jake put in the motor, work on it, ship my car back to me in California. And I'm in Southern California and I couldn't find to have it done. And then a few local shops that I do know here, I talked to one of the owners of it's not a Volkswagen shop, but it's a vintage Porsche shop and they do vintage air cooled. And same thing with him. He's like, Eric, I can do your car, but he's like, I'm a year plus on my waiting list. I'm like, gosh, everybody, to get the good mechanic, you're going to wait a year to get on your list. And what do you do?
So crazy.
You don't drive your car. My car sat here in my garage for 2 years and I didn't drive it because my motor was shot. And I couldn't take it to a local shop. I could have. I'm being exaggerating. I could have, but I would have known what I was getting for what I was paying.
No. You could have, but then you would have been that statistic you were just telling us about on the road for 3 hours and now it's already failed.
Well, and I've had local friends here help me keep my car going, but like I had to replace my alternator this last year, put a brand new alternator in it and the car didn't run. Put a second alternator, it doesn't run. Go for the third alternator. I get a hold of Jake. I'm like, what's the deal with these alternators? He's like, they're rebuilt. They're crap. It's Chinese. He's like, good luck. He's like, sometimes I put 5 in. He's like, you got to go get your Bosch one rebuilt. Go down and get your original Bosch alternator rebuilt. Rebuild your original one. Put it in the car. That's what we did. It's great. It's great now. Wonderful. Wow. No problems. Everything's great. And even the rebuild cost me, Bosch rebuilt alternator cost me $400 to get my vintage real Bosch alternator rebuilt. $400. That's a part that you can buy on the Chinese market for less than $100, 80, 89, $100. But then you go through 4 or 5 of them to get one that works.
That's what whacked.
Anyways, don't get me going. You got the point.
All right. How does Eric Goodman want to be remembered? Not just by the VW community, but by life in general.
I know the answer to that. So for me, success in life is not about stature or title or money. We all entered this earth equal. We're all going to leave this earth equal. We are all the same. You and I are we're sitting here exactly the same today. There's nothing different between you and me. We're completely equal. But that's not how society sees it or does it. And I think people, they down success with money and money with, saying that somebody did right in life or did live a good life. I tell people all the time, and what I live by is, I think I'm successful by the amount of lives I've impacted. If I have helped people, like my new book, the book, What's Your Mindset? Like, why did I write my memoir, my life story? Why did I share it publicly? Why do I want to get my book out to more people? Why is it so important to me that book was something that I think will help people in their life? Since the book came out, I've had people contact me, and it's only been out not even a month. I'm less than 30 days on the book release, less than a month. I have had people contact me and tell me they were going to commit suicide and my book saved them. I had somebody tell me that they were going to leave their wife and that they were going to go for a divorce and their marriage was ending. And my book saved their marriage. I've had people contact me and tell me that they were in a dark place and they didn't know what to do. And they were up at 3 a.m. and they were contemplating life. And they had my book sitting there. They had opened it. They read the full book that morning before they went back to sleep, told me they went back to sleep for 2 hours, got up, and they're living a new life moving forward because they're going to change their mindset and realize that to see the struggles that I've been through and where I'm at today, and that they can do the same thing, and that I still struggle every day. I still have struggled every single day. My life is not cherry. I have business struggles. I have faith. I have all those struggles, but
Sure.
for 30 plus years, I've kept my mindset positive. And now I wrote a book called What's Your Mindset? So I surely have to live up to the positive mindset. But if you talk to my family or my team, you could go to any of my employees, 38 years in business, or my family and say, have you ever seen Eric upset? Have you ever seen him yell? Have you ever seen him get mad? And I can honestly, without lying to you here, and you can contact my wife or my VP of my company. I have never raised my voice. I have never yelled. I've never screamed. I have never lost my temper or been mad at anybody in my company in 30 years. I swear to God, not once. And they will
Wow.
contest to that.
Wow.
Now, do I go get in my car and scream at the top of my lungs and have a meltdown? Absolutely, I do. I do often, but I never do it in front of the team. I never do it in front of my family. I never do it in front of my friends because I
Wow.
got to stay in that positive mindset that, okay, shit happened. But how am I going to control that shit that happened to me? Am I going to let it affect my life? Or am I going to say,
Yes.
that happened to me, but you know what? That can't dictate my entire day.
Yes.
I got to keep moving forward and be positive. And then at the end of the day, when I came home, if I let all of that shit affect me, my wife's going to be like, so how did your day go? I'm going to like, my day was shit. Why? Because I let it be. It was horrible. And I'm going to tell her, I come home and go, yeah, you know what? That did happen this morning. That did suck. But you know what? The rest of the day, I changed it. I turned it around. I was positive all day. All these other things happened, which were better. And then when she asked me, how was your day? I go, you know what? My day was amazing. I had a great day. And I'm going to tell her about you. I'm on a podcast with you. I'm on another podcast this afternoon. I have a lunch with one of my mentees that I'm mentoring. I have a couple business appointments. Like, there's going to be stuff. I'm going to get a call from my office that something's going to fall apart today. I guarantee it. And it's going to be the biggest thing in the world to them. And I'm going to say, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. We'll get through it. Let's figure it out, manage it, and we're going to move on, opposed to saying, my whole day just sucks. Right. So
Right.
it's that
That's
mindset.
that mindset.
And I want to be remembered for that guy that I impacted people's lives and I changed my community by what I did. And that to me shows that I've been successful. And that's what I want to be remembered for. I want to be remembered for
Awesome.
the guy with the positive mindset who impacted his community. Whether you found success to be that my businesses were successful or the club was successful or the book was successful, that really doesn't matter to me. What matters is out of those successes, how did I use those to impact other people's lives? And did I?
Yeah.
And I do.
Awesome.
So that's my purpose.
Awesome. Very well said. All right, I got some rapid fire style questions. These are questions that'll
I'll
demand.
go for shorter answers, I promise.
Yeah, I was going to say these questions demand a fast answer, but
Okay.
you know, man, hey, if a story evolves out of it,
No, that's fine. I'll
cool
go
with it.
quick.
But all right, you ready?
Ready.
All right, favorite VW model of all time.
Volkswagen Thing.
You got it. All right, how about this one? Stock or slammed? I think I know the answer.
Stop.
Stock. Okay.
100%.
Best VW show in the US.
Well, we have our Prado show here. The El Prado show here in Southern California obviously is huge and it's a good show. I would say probably the best one I've ever attended or that has the most history or is the greatest is so our Kelly Park show here put on by the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America in the Bay Area is a very historic show in a very historic place. And it has people that travel from all over the world to come to that show. I think it's probably one of the more iconic in the country and its history is really rich. I would say for that reason, probably that show. But obviously, the biggest show in the country happens here in Southern California in June every year, and that's something to really be seen.
How many cars?
They've had 3,000 cars at that show before.
Oh my God! Yeah, for those of you that know Bug Jam in Florida, that's 3 times Bug Jam. Wow,
Yeah,
that'd be totally impressive.
the big show.
All right. How about dream road trip in your thing?
Oh man. So we have the Volkswagen Thing Club has a show. We have an East and a West show every year. Mine's the West show, which is part of that Prado. And I've had over 100 Volkswagen things at one time at a show, which was crazy. They've had over 150 at one time at a show in the
Crazy.
East Coast, which is like
I'd
unheard
have
of
to,
to get
yeah, I'd have to see
150
that.
things. It's just when you come to my show and you see 100 things lined up, it's like, people
What?
sometimes only see one or two things in their lifetime.
Right.
And then to see 100 of them all setting at the same. I've been to that show, but I flew with a friend of mine who's the VP of our VW Thing Club. I've never driven. I think the dream would be our guys have always talked about leaving California and driving to the East to go to that show. I think that would be a cool trip.
Okay. I like it. How about this one? Who's one VW legend that you'd love to sit down with?
Oh goodness, I've sat down with a bunch of them that are already here and been together. I mean, like the Kimball family and the Fat Performance guys, Ron. I mean, we got a lot of them here in California. She's the racers. I mean, we have for me personally, and I know he's not going to like this or say this, but and he was correcting me this morning when I talked to him. Jake Raby is a Porsche guy. I mean, his business is Type 4s, but he puts a lot of his Type 4 motors in bugs too. I personally think he's a legend in the scene, and to just know him and get to talk to him on a regular basis. When he's gone, that's going to be a huge impact to the Volkswagen and Porsche world because his knowledge is just like if you spend an hour talking to that guy, he's going to blow your head off.
I,
It's
I,
just
I hope I get the opportunity to, man.
he is
That's awesome.
unreal. I
Okay.
find he's my legend to me.
Okay. No, I can take it. All right. First word that you think of when you hear air cooled.
Icon,
Icon. Yes. What does the VW community mean to you in one word?
family.
Family. Awesome. Awesome. All right. How about this? Shout out where people can find you if they want to connect with you. I'm all over the place and I see your LinkedIn and I see you everywhere, but general public, if they're looking for you, they don't know who you are, they want to find you. How can they find you?
So the club is vvwca.com. So that's Vintage Volkswagen Club of America.com, but abbreviated. My contact's on there. You mentioned LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn, post probably twice a day. It's the only social media that I currently use. So I'm not on any other forms of social media. So it's Eric L with the middle initial L Goodman. That's the easiest way to find me on LinkedIn. My website is ericgoodman.org, and that has information on my book. They can order my new book, What's Your Mindset there. There's a little history about my background, like you said. It's available on Amazon. If they just want to just don't even connect with me and just go on Amazon and order What's Your Mindset by Eric L. Goodman. And then, yeah, so you can get to me. My email and phone number is both listed on all my social stuff. So I'm very I'm an easy person to get a hold of.
Awesome. Any shout outs for anybody in the scene?
We've had a lot of sponsors of the VVWC over the years that have been amazing. We've had some big corporate sponsors, which are amazing. We have some local corporate sponsors, various magazines like Hot BWs, which is amazing to us. Great, great group over there. Couldn't do what we do without them. And Jake Raby Air Cool Technologies is one of our big sponsors for our magazine. So the magazine wouldn't happen without them. Printing that magazine is just, it's not cost effective in today's world, but we continue to do it. So really, the money, this is honest truth, the money that you guys pay to be members of the club just barely covers the expense of printing that magazine. And then I have to throw in some extra to make it happen. So it isn't like the club dues go into a bank account and we're just continuing to just build it because every 2 months when we print that magazine, it pretty much empties us out and then we have to start all over again. It's costly to do. So anybody that wants to have a VW business or a VW podcast or they're involved in the hobby and they want to throw us some love to continue to print that magazine, contact Eric Arnold. You and I discussed him earlier. Eric Arnold is our editor-in-chief of the magazine and also owns Eric Arnold Photography. And he's a staple in the VW scene. Everybody knows him. He's in every magazine that exists. He does work for them. And he's the guy. The magazine
Awesome.
wouldn't be what it is today. You had him on your podcast, right? You had Eric
I
Arnold.
did.
So go watch
person.
that podcast. And I'm sure he talked a little bit about Vintage Volkswagen Club of America and the magazine. So
Oh, yeah.
big shout out to Eric.
Now, as a former consultant in the trades, I can say this and you'll understand it. It sounds like it's time to increase your pricing.
I know.
But it's hard, right? Because with the word vintage comes, they hope it's going to be vintage costs too.
It's hard. And like I told you, so many people go to a club meet or a meeting or a swap and they buy one of our vintage Volkswagen Club of America logos and they stick it on the windshield of their car. And if you go to, at least out here, if you go to a VW meet, say there's 100 cars, I'm going to tell you over 50% of them, maybe 75% of them are going to have our logo somewhere on their car, a sticker of, something. So people just think that they're part of that culture. And I'm good with that. I love that. I love that people come up to me and I go to events and it's a family and community that people just love. It's just they're not really supporting the organization. They're just supporting the culture.
Well, brother, we've been going at it here for just over 90 minutes. I want to thank you for, leading with passion, with values, with heart, like you do, and obviously for keeping the VW flame burning.
Thank you.
I'll close with a quote that I got from you.
Okay, I want to see which one it is.
In a world where you can be anything, be yourself.
I love that quote too. I say that one a lot.
I know you do. That's why I said it. But man,
and the last quote that I would use or give, which everybody always gets a catch, is my third favorite quote is, "Success is the best revenge. Let somebody tell you you can't do something and show them that they're wrong."
And that's a wrap for this episode of DubLife Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people in the dubs that drive their dreams. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at DubLife Diaries or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. DubLifeDiaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.